In the previous video, we looked at the features of oral narratives. Now let us dive into the stylistic devices that are used in oral narratives. The first stylistic device is the opening formula. It signals the beginning of the story, it identifies the narrator, captures the attention of the audience, and it moves us from the world of reality into that of fantasy. The second stylistic device is the closing formula. The closing formula signals that the story has come to an end and transports us back into the world of reality from the world of fantasy. A big chunk of oral narratives employ animal characters, and then these animal characters can stand, not just animal characters, but even other characters can stand for ideas. For example, the hyena can stand for greed, even the ogre. We call this symbolism, and symbolism is very important because sometimes we want to pass a message across, but we don't want to antagonize other people by pointing to them directly. So we use symbols along the way. One of the most important stylistic devices in oral narratives is personification. Personification is where we give animals, plants, and inanimate objects the qualities and abilities of human beings, such as talking and fetching firewood and things like that. A big chunk of oral narratives depend on animal characters and other inanimate objects. Now, to make the stories beautiful, we have to inject personification into them. Personification is so important that some scholars elevate it to the level of a feature, because without personification, more than 90% of oral narratives would not exist. Another important stylistic device in oral narratives is the use of repetition. In repetition, we have a word, a phrase, even a song that occurs more than once. We also have events and even actions that occur more than once. Like in the story where the firefly takes over Antelope's hut, we see different animals coming and trying to eject the firefly, but they can't. So there's repetition of action. The trying to eject the firefly is a repetition of action. We also have use of song, and this is one of the most important stylistic devices in oral narratives, because stories were communal. We wanted to tell stories in a place where people were, and the people had to feel like they're part of a story. So the song was one of those tools that storytellers could use to bring the audience into the story by maybe doing a popular song and letting them finish off some lines or something like that, or changing the song in the story depending on the audience. A song in a story can be used to reveal themes. Songs can reveal character traits. They can show how determined someone is if they're singing about something they plan to do and or they are doing. So it is very important to think about the context of the song and ask ourselves, what is the song doing? The general uses of the song: one, to make the story beautiful or to add flavor to the story, also to break the monotony of narration. But songs go beyond that. As I've said, they can reveal themes, reveal character traits, they can move the plot forward. So we always have to ask, what is this song saying in this story? Dialogue is another stylistic device that is used prevalently in stories or oral narratives. We have two or more animals talking, or two or more characters talking, and this can also be used to make the story interesting, but can also be used to break the monotony of narration. Dialogue reveals many things. Dialogue reveals the state of mind of the characters. It can reveal their character traits. It can reveal themes that are being discussed. Because if people are talking about a conflict or they're fighting each other and they're exchanging words, so there's conflict as a theme. As I've said before, it's always very important to look at these stylistic devices in terms of the context of our stories. For the storyteller, dialogue is such an important tool, because when you're telling a story and you reach a place where you want to fix the dialogue, you can do what we call voice variation. You change your voice or you mimic different characters, where you're saying, here you're saying, hey my friend, how are you doing? And the elephant replied, oh my friend, nice to see you. You see, that one can just add some little bit of flavor in the story because of the dialogue and the chance to change your voice. Another important stylistic device in oral narratives is the use of native terms. Oral narratives are the stories of a people. So for the African situation, their original language is not English. So these stories have been translated from their original language, their ethnic languages, into English. And during the translation, some words from the original language can be kept intact. This can be done because the word that is not translated has a very heavy significance culturally. Another reason is the language of translation might not have an equivalent of the word, so we keep it intact. But sometimes we just do it in order to situate the story, to give it a local flavor, and to make it more believable and authentic.